There are certain situations you're going to run into in boating that require some common sense, maybe a little local knowledge, and definitely a little knowledge about the water. And one of those situations is going to be making sure you don't get too shallow or too close to the beach, just like some of the things we're going to see in this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, this really is one of my least favorite subjects because your boy BG is going to admit I am one of the biggest pansies there is in boating when it comes to getting too close to the beach or getting into too shallow of water. Anytime we're going to a beach, I'll look at my crew, tell them to drop the hook, and they look back at me and like, bro, get a little closer. But for whatever reason, I just like to use an abundance of caution when we're getting into the shallows or getting close to the beach. And some of that probably has to do with some of the things we see here. I spent my week watching boneheaded boaters doing boneheaded moves, and some of the most common ones I see is because people just didn't make good choices and got a little too shallow and wind up in some bad spots. Now, it's not even just getting close to the beach. It can be in generalized boating. You want to make sure you stay in the channel at all times. Too many times I'm out boating with friends, they're on their boat, and they start cutting channel markers and taking shortcuts. Again, myself, I just refuse to do it because it's just not worth the risk reward. Sure, maybe I'll save a couple seconds here or there, but it's not worth winding up, getting myself beached and getting stuck and having to call for a tow to come get me out.
There's this nice channel marker right here. That nice channel marker right there. Those two red channel markers mark the other side of the channel. Then there's that boat there. High and dry on the rocks.
And these are just some of the reasons why you always want to stay in the channel marker. It's not worth damaging your vessel or ruining your day because you decide to take a little shortcut. Unless, of course, you've got local knowledge and know your waters extremely well. And especially getting too close to the beach obviously can cause major problems. Now, I know you're probably going to get some peer pressure like I talked about that I get earlier, where your crew's going to look at you and say, come on, man, get a little closer to the beach. We want to get out there, jump in the water, and hang out and play. But remember, you're the captain. You're responsible for the vessel and everybody on board the vessel, and the last thing you want to do is just try and get a little bit closer to the beach so your crew's got a little bit less of a swim, only to find out now your day's been extended by many hours as you either got to wait for that tide to come up or wait for sea tow or towboat to come get you and try and get you off the sandbar. I mean, let's be honest, there are plenty of other things to worry about in boating, so why go ahead and add that stress of having to worry about being in shallow water as one of them? I mean, there's lots of other tight situations you're going to get yourself into, like when you're trying to tow down to the boat ramp or when you're out there in the water and you got to worry about the other boneheaded boaters who happen to be out there deciding they're going to make some shortcuts and call it a little close to you as well. Now, of course, getting stuck on the sandbar or the beach is not the only way that's going to ruin or end your day in boating. We've got to make lots of good decisions when it comes down to our boating lifestyle. And one of the first good decisions you need to make is whether you even need to be out there on that day. Always make sure to check the weather conditions and make sure things are good to go before you decide to go ahead and head out. And the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a bad spot by trying to get out into a situation where either you, your crew, or your boat's not 100% prepared for it.
It's got little kids on the front of that boat. Oh, no, no, no.
Now, as a captain, you always have to be prepared to call it. I know it can be tough sometimes. Many times, it's tough to fit boating into our lives. We've got to schedule it out. And so when you go ahead and schedule out one of those boating days, plan it many days or weeks or months in advance, and all of a sudden the day gets there and the conditions aren't ideal for you to go, sometimes it's tough to say no. But again, as we mentioned earlier in the video, as the captain, you are responsible for you and your crew. And the last thing you want to do is go ahead and force the issue to try and go out there and go boating on a day when it's not ideal just because you've been planning it for a long time. Once again, boating comes down to making good decisions and using common sense. If you do that, your boating days are going to be pretty good most of the time. Thanks for watching, crew. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Adam Coolidge, Savannah Christ, Doug Dalton, Dougie Doug Fresh, Bert Bertini, and Seamus Wassam did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.